Live.
Yeah.
Right. Welcome to Town Centre and Events. First item on the agenda of the public session, and I understand we have a gentleman that arrives from the cricket club to talk about their big adventure this year. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stutchbury. Council, thank you very much for having me. I wonder, what I'd like to do is present to you just a few slides. It'll only take about 5 minutes, and then I'll be absolutely open for any questions that you might have. So I wonder whether there's a way of me sharing my screen. It looks like there is.
Yeah, just click share screen.
Yep, I've got it. I've got it. So could somebody let me know when you can see a green background, and then we'll be good to go.
Yep.
Lovely. Okay, good technology happening here. So let me just get my screen sorted out. So I think you might know this already because I did send an email to you, but the cricket club, on behalf of the community, will be making an attempt to break a Guinness World Record. We've gone to put a lot of hours into it already, working with Guinness to get their agreement that this is for real, as it were, and we really can end up with a world record afterwards. So I'm just going to take you through a few details of that. What is the specific record? If you imagine just one person running on a cricket pitch back and forth, but then turn it into a relay, it's basically for us to keep going for 12 hours and see how many runs we can score in the 12-hour period. And when will it take place? On the 30th of August, we looked very carefully at the date and got in touch with a few people. And then when the Bandjam got officially cancelled, we kind of grabbed the date. So we don't believe we're competing with anyone with that date as things stand. We're working to a remit in 3 parts. The first of all is that it's entirely positive and inclusive. I should add transparent as well there, and it's absolutely aimed at our club, but also the community and the broader cricket community. And I'll explain that in more detail if I could in a moment. But just to be abundantly clear, we really want to host this for the far sort of bigger picture. You know, cricket's a great sport, but there's only so many of us, and we'd really like to have everybody involved. To raise funds in 3 parts. I mean, part for us, of course, we're like many sports clubs like us. We've been pretty heavily impacted by COVID, and we need to make a response to that. We're in very close contact with Brian Jarvis, who is the organizer and founder of Alex Angels. I don't know if council's familiar with that, but they're a local charity. Brian lost his son 10 years ago this year, and it's a small charity where basically they help out the hospitals with things for very ill children. Like, I mean, can be really quite minor things like colouring sets and you know, making puppets and such like, to slightly more substantial things like going to see football matches and having a big day out. And so we're very supportive of that, and Brian's being incredibly helpful, but also Buckingham Preschool Playgroup, with whom we share our pavilion, would take a cut as well. Now, it's only natural that everybody's first question is actually about COVID rather than perhaps the substance of the event. So I've got a slide in a moment which will go into some detail about how hard we're working to really ensure that it's impossible to have a truly safe environment, but as safe as we can possibly pull it off. So who should take part? Absolutely anyone, and I mean that absolutely sincerely. We've got to find a way of making sure that people really believe that, because what we're expecting is for a very significant proportion of the people who are taking part to be people who just jog or even walk a couple of runs. And in amongst them, we'll have some of the super fit people who will keep going for 20 minutes or half an hour. But this is something which has captured the imagination, and it truly is open to anyone. So we've made a point there. You don't have to be a cricketer. It's for the young or the less young. It's for the super fit or the not fit at all. And we do just retain the caveat that, you know, it is just 12 hours, so it's a finite amount of time. So there is some potential that we'll need to go to ballot. But you know, if we assume we don't need to go that far, it truly is going to be open to all. Just 2 more slides. I can't tell you how much COVID is front of mind. I mean, I'll be absolutely candid with you. The sort of internal conversations we've had have basically said we cannot, under any circumstances, end up with a photo like Brighton Beach. We know that. And equally, we have to be absolutely secure as an event organizer that whatever we do, you know, limits any risk of COVID-19 to absolutely the lowest level which we can possibly do it. We're very fortunate amongst our cricket club membership that we've got somebody who is in the COVID world. He's organising private companies in how they respond to COVID. So we're very lucky to have true top of the range expertise available. And in case you know him, his name is Brijesh Valambia, and he is beyond valuable. He's absolutely golden. This is ever moving, but just to give you some security right from the off, I've covered about Bridge. We got a QR code for track and trace, which means no one has to touch paper. It's also environmentally friendly. We're going to ask that everybody wears a mask, and if they're not wearing a mask, we'll be offering them when people arrive. Hand sanitizers, there's going to be spacing throughout and signage throughout, and queuing systems throughout, with volunteers monitoring everything. On top of the volunteers who have specific roles, for example, organising the actual record attempt or being at the entry desk, or the very obvious roles, if I could put it that way, we're going to have some roaming volunteers who are just going around seeking to ensure that people are distancing as they should be. As I say, there's a RAG report which has been produced today in first draft. I received it 30 minutes ago, but we're really getting down to the detail of, I mean, the one line I saw was how we can be COVID safe with our walkie-talkies, because we'll need them on the day amongst the organisers. So the ask of Town Council is in 3 parts. If I could briefly run through them, bless you. First is, we'd love you to come and attend, and each of you earn your own world record holder certificates, and ideally that would be in regalia for at least Madam Mayor and the Town Crier. That would be, we'd love to have you, and what we're doing is we're dedicating portions of the 12 hours to batches, shall I say. So you'd have a batch, and Alex Angels has a batch. Rival cricket clubs, we're giving them a batch. Other sports clubs in town, they're getting a batch. The university, our sponsors, the general public, and of course our clubs. So we'd love to give you a batch. One thing which I've missed from the slides is Greg Smith will be attending, and he's extremely positive about it, and has actually helped us with our promotional video. The second thing is we're seeking your explicit support. We'd love you on your social network channels and whatever other channels you may have to promote this for us, or with us, not for us. That would be beyond it. So we're really seeking your support, but ideally not just covert support, but overt support, if I could put it that way. And the final thing is that we wonder if you can make a donation. We'd like to get to a point where we're break even before the event starts. So should you have any kitty available, we would very humbly like to ask if perhaps you can make a donation. That's all I wanted to present. I mean, I could go on for hours, of course. The organisation of an event like this is vast. I'm sure you won't be surprised, but conscious of the limit on time, I kept it down to that. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for coming. Councillor Harvey has already put this on the agenda tonight, so we will be discussing it within the agenda. Right.
Thank you very much.
Question 3 can be discussed at that point, not now.
Okay.
Which is the appropriate time to discuss it. But I think you've really quite comprehensively showed us what you want to do, and I'm impressed that you're going to get Madam Mayor and you're allotting the time for us. And have you got walking to the crease time included in that for us older people?
We'll get you to the crease, and we'll let you know when you've got to get moving. The trick is, though, that you've got to let us know when you can't move anymore, so we can get the next one on after you.
No, thank you. I'll just take 2 or 3 questions which aren't relevant to what's come on the slides, and obviously we're going to discuss this tonight. I'm personally very chuffed that you're doing something like this in the town, but
thank you very much.
The other member now, I'll just take those questions now. If you can indicate who wants to speak.
Councillor Harvey's got a hand up, I can see.
Take John first then. Anybody else?
But you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, hello there. Ernie, thanks very much for coming along this evening. As you know, I think this is a great idea, and
my pleasure.
I think it's a very creative use of the cricket pitch and getting people involved. You might get some new members as a consequence as well, which would be great. My only question really relates to the COVID-19. From the research that I've read or been reported and so on, is people actually breathing out a lot, which is where the high risk factor is. So I'm assuming that you're saying that people will be running in masks, because obviously one thing that concerns me is when people get to either end of the pitch, who else is going to be there, near the crease, who might perhaps be in the kind of line of fire, as it were. And the second question is more practical. Will people be running with a bat or just running?
Okay, I'll answer the second question first because it's the really easy one. I went through several weeks of negotiation with Guinness about what constitutes a record, and you need to be in cricket pads, gloves, gloves, and a bat. We can provide the bat, but you're going to have to source your own pads, I'm afraid, because of COVID. Ooh. So this could be a difficulty, and we'll be getting the word out now. I can lend some, which I will to you because I'm a mad cricket house, and if I lend them now and you don't touch them for a few days, then they'll be COVID free. But to answer that now, the question is, you're quite right, and we have thought of this already, and particularly COVID becomes more dangerous if somebody's out of breath, because if we're breathing and we've got a 2-meter distance, that out of breath makes it, I don't know the numbers, but let's say it makes it 4 meters or whatever. The actual cricket pitch which will be played on is going to be cordoned off, and there'll be only 5 people allowed within that space, and they will be socially distanced. There'll be it's 4 people. There'll be the runner, there'll be a person at either end, and we have to have independent witnesses there. So an independent witness will be in there. In terms, if you can imagine one end of a cricket pitch, the point where you enter, we're calling is clean. So you come into the area without being out of breath and so on. But when you leave, when you're out of breath and you've finished, you go out that other end. We're calling that the dirty exit. It's not a very nice word, but that's the word they're using in COVID circles, believe it or not. And so you go out the other end, and we're going to have a designated space where no one is allowed with you while you get your breath back, and you take your pads off, and you perhaps have a drink of water or whatever. So, Councillor Harvey, I hope I've put your mind at ease there. Both of the questions you asked, we have already considered.
I just to follow up, I think sourcing your own pads is quite tricky.
Anybody else wants to ask a question? Is there anybody else wants to ask a question first? No, okay, come back then, John.
I was going to say, sourcing pads. I'm just looking online at the moment, and the cheapest pad you can get is about 25 quid for a pair of pads. That could be a factor, Ernie, is all I'm saying. I
know. We're worried about it. I mean, that's the truth of it. We're worried about it, and we're going to get the word out a month early. What we are doing is we're collecting spare pads, and we're doing that very, very early. We're going to get them in a safe place where COVID will have time to die, and then people can borrow our pads. Amongst the cricket club, we've got endless pads, but COVID, it really is a pain when it comes specifically to this. Don't go buying pads. I'm certainly not suggesting that. We wouldn't suggest that at all. But as soon as there are any communications to the general public and so on, we'll be explaining this. It's our biggest problem, actually. We got two problems or three problems which are causing us a headache. One is the pads. Another is counting, because with the best will in the world, there's real danger of human error there. So we're actually, somebody's got in touch with the Mercedes Formula One team, believe it or not, to see if they can help us. And we're looking at touch pads and various things like that. And the third thing which we're getting expert advice on, just so you know in advance, is if you can imagine this, not the gate by the pavilion, but the other gate. We can only have a single point of entrance, but we've got a bit of a problem figuring out cars coming in and out at the same time, but we're on the case with that as well.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We will discuss this in our agenda tonight.
Okay.
And we'll give you a response on your specific questions, which the town clerk would have written down for us.
Yes.
We'll come back to you. Is that okay? I mean,
Councillor Stutchbury, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for what you've done, and we do seriously wish you, I imagine, every success with this and the difficulties that you're trying to do with it. But I'm not going to bounce them into a question and answer session in a public session. We can't agree anything there.
Okay.
Is that okay? And we'll come back to you.
Absolutely. And if I could just have a few seconds giving my gratitude and thanks to Councillor Hodgson as well, who went out of his way to call me up and get all this in line. So, Councillor Hodgson, thank you very much.
It's just he's not the councillor; he's the town clerk, Jack. So.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I've been stressing about how to address you all day. So, have I just promoted him?
He's our legal officer. So
all right, look. So it's all with best intentions.
Well, no, it was, mate. I just couldn't.
Okay. Well, I'll sign off and I'll thank you all again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Right. And before we move into the agenda, I will remind members that these meetings are YouTubed and they all are for permanent viewing. So members are aware of that before the meeting. In which case I'll move on to item 1, which is apologies for absence. I know we've got apologies from Councillor Try. Is there any other? No. Okay then. Declarations for interest. Has anyone got any pecuniary or prejudicial interests? Obviously not. In which case we'll move on to the minutes. Are the minutes a record? Councillor O'Donoghue.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so on our minutes, on page 2, our terms of reference, they were changed. It was proposed by Councillor Try and seconded by Councillor Harvey, and they were meant to be brought back to tonight's meeting. But on item 4, the action list, Appendix A, it shows our terms of reference were agreed at full council on the 13th of July. So I went back and had to look at the full council agenda and the minutes that were sent today, the draft minutes sent today. And the wording that was agreed by us in our last TC&E meeting, they're not the same as what was agreed at full council. So I don't really know how we move forward on it, Chair.
In which case I will have a conversation with both the town clerk and the minutes secretary clerk, and I'll come back to you, because I don't think we can discuss that now. It's not appropriate, and we'll come back to you with a proper answer to resolve your concerns. Is that okay? And then we'll bring if you're not happy after you receive that response, then we'll put an item on the next agenda to discuss it. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, I don't know what's not appropriate. I'm just saying that our terms of reference aren't correct, that's all.
No, well, I haven't got them with me. You obviously have. I don't know whether the officers have, and they were agreed at full council, which
Yeah,
proceed.
that's the problem.
So we are effectively got a new terms of reference, but we can amend our terms of reference at any point we want. That's why I'm
Okay.
saying that they can come back if that conversation isn't satisfied to be amended. If that's the case, I'm just trying to move it through.
Do you want me to send the information that I've got here to Town Clerk, yourself and Nina?
Yeah, that would be excellent, and then we'll
Okay.
read it and then we'll come back to you. Is
All
that
right,
okay?
thank you.
And in which case, I do believe, until I'm sounded corrected, we have our new councillor with us tonight, Rabina.
No, we don't.
We don't. In which case, I can't wait when it be the one who welcomes her to the first council meeting, which I was hoping to be. So in which case, we'll move on to action lists, which is Appendix A. Is any comments on the action list? Most things are on the agenda. I'll give you just a few more minutes.
His hand up.
Who has?
John's got his hand up.
John?
Sorry. Yeah, with regards to the second item, the War Memorial rededication, I thought we'd agreed that we would make contact with some of the people whose diaries might be more challenging than others, just to get that date in the diary, I thought, for next year. Has that happened?
I can't give you that answer, Councillor Harvey, but you will get an answer even in writing unless the town clerk's got it now.
No, we haven't done that yet, John, but we'll do that in the next month or so.
Okay, all right.
Was there any other concerns?
Yes?
Is that John Harvey again? Councillor Harvey,
Yeah, it's me again. Me again, Robin.
well,
I see we're discussing Play Around the Parishes, and we're also discussing the dog show. I don't think we've got the River Rinse on the agenda, and it is down for July 20 for us to review whether we're going to go ahead with that or not.
on the agenda, I believe, isn't it?
It is on the agenda, yeah.
So you
Is
can
it?
discuss it then. And the dog show's on the agenda, and the
Oh, it
Play
is.
Around
Sorry,
the
my
Parish
apologies. My
be on the
apologies.
agenda because it's not called Play Around the Parish now.
Okay,
So everything that you're concerned about is on the agenda.
good.
Right. In which case,
Could I ask just,
Councillor Strain-Clark,
yeah, whether the Buckingham calendar's on the agenda?
correct?
Correct, it is.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Right, thanks.
Anything else which is missing off the agenda, which is on the agenda?
Nothing. Robin.
In which case, I'm only joking, and we'll move on. Now, do members want to take item 18 now? Why it's fresh in our mind what the cricket club said? Is that so we don't get to the back end of the meeting? You know, in which case we'll take that. Can I have members indicate now who wants to speak on that item? We've got Councillor Donoghue. Who else?
No, I was just agreeing for it to be brought forward,
Yeah.
Chair. I didn't want to speak on it. Thank you.
I just want so we don't miss anyone. Who wants to speak on this item?
Councillor Harvey.
Councillor Harvey. Anybody else? Okay, well, we'll lead off with you then, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Margaret Don wants to
So I'm
date.
scrolling down to where I'd written something. Hang on. Yeah, can't find it now. I think my concerns were around whether we're going to put any money into it or not. As a town council, obviously individually we can do what we like, but whether as a town council we put any money into it. I've also been very cautious. I mean, Ernie's a top bloke, obviously, but I've been cautious about saying anything that might suggest that somehow we as a town council are officially backing it, because we can't say that until we've had the discussion here, at least this evening. And as a consequence, I've not put forward any kind of video of us saying we want to be, you know, a record breaker and so on. I didn't know about the pads until this evening. I can see why that's going to be potentially a problem. because obviously if you're just going to turn up and just run between some sticks, that's relatively easy. But if you've got to put on pads and maybe gloves too, I think as Ernie said, so you look something like a real cricketer, that's going to be more exclusive than inclusive, is my fear. But that's their problem to resolve, I think. And I think that's what my main concerns were. I don't know whether there needs to be any kind of traffic control order, because I don't know really how this is going to be playing out in terms of numbers of people turning up and where they're going to park. Because as we know, along the Borton Road, it can get very busy along there sometimes, and there are cars parked up and down. This could get to be quite tricky. Whether we can facilitate a road closure order, whether that's feasible, I don't know.
Just on the road
those are some of the
closure order,
options I was going to raise.
just for information on the road closure order, John, we would have to pay for a separate one. It could be that they can get that themselves, unless we can add it. I'm being told different, because it's quite expensive for us to do it. And the road closure order we would have had on that day would have been, as the gentleman quite rightly said, for Bandjam. But I'll take, before I come back to both Paul and Amanda, Margaret, Councillor Gately wanted to speak, I understand.
Yes, thank you. It was helpful to learn that pads were going to be required. Are balls going to be thrown at the people running? Does one have to attempt to bat the ball? Does anybody know that? I mean, I could have asked him when he was here, but I think we need to know that kind of thing, because I was sort of thinking, if it goes ahead, I'd quite like to participate. I can't run. It's one thing I can't do. I can walk a long way. But the idea of me putting on gloves, I'm the most clumsy individual in Buckingham, I'm sure. The idea of me putting on pads and gloves and having a ball thrown at me actually maybe makes me think this is something that maybe wouldn't be wise. My second question is, obviously they're trying to be very careful about social distancing. Is it only going to be the people actually participating at that point who are allowed to be there, or are they having spectators of any kind?
I think if you look,
I mean, he said Brighton Beach, but I think he meant Bournemouth Beach.
Yeah.
Because it would be very easy for the cricket, you know, for it to become unsafe very quickly. I think it's a fabulous idea, I really do. And I think if we can be persuaded that this is safe and inclusive, then I think it's something we probably ought to support financially as well as in other ways. But if we can't be reassured about that, then we've got to be very cautious about showing our support.
well, before I come back to anybody else, I think Paul and Amanda, both of you, the town clerk and the clerk wanted to speak. Which one's going to go first? Paul, you going to go first?
Let Amanda go first, then I'll.
Okay, thank you.
I've got two things. Did he say there was only one cricket bat? Because I never heard him say anything about getting extra bats. And if there is only one cricket bat, will it be sanitised between each person using it?
I would imagine if you're wearing gloves, you won't be touching the bat. So you won't be actually touching the bat and passing one person to the other, and the gloves are your own gloves. So I think that covers that. The sanitising of equipment, I presume they do that. And one thing I recall, and please correct me anyone if what I say is wrong, he did say that they were going to have a circle round the actual team and socially distanced people taking part in it. I think that's what he said. I'll come to the town clerk now.
Yeah, in terms of TRO, John, I don't think you need one. If it's at 200 people over 12 hours, if you divide that down, that's actually not many people. So it will be timetabled in through the day. So I think that's designed to have a minimum number of people there at any given point. So that should be okay. I did say to Ernie when I spoke to him that in terms of funding, we haven't got a grants budget or a budget that's obvious to support the event at the moment. Obviously, if the mayor attends, she does have the mayoral allowance that can be used for small donations for things.
Which case, I think if the members are agreeable on the funding side of it, I'll have a talk to the town clerk. I don't want to do it tonight, off outside the meeting, see if I can identify something that we can use. And then if we were so minded to support it, and then come back to you for you to agree it. I don't want to go through budget headings tonight. I don't think that's appropriate, but I think we should at least, if at all possible, contribute towards this. We can use our own budgets within our standing orders for what we want to do and events. So it's defining that, and I need to define that for the town clerk. But from the chair personally, I think if people are, that we should be minded to support this event with ongoing discussions for the town clerk, and I think if the event takes place, would members be minded to allow the council to support it? Now, I'm conscious of what I can see. Councillor Donohue's got a hand up, but I'm conscious of what John said about earlier on, and I'm conscious about people's concerns with this. But I'll stop talking and allow Councillor Donohue to come in because she didn't speak on the earlier section.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think in principle it'd be good for the town council to support this. We support any charities that need, you know, the town council support behind them. I would worry that if we helped with money from the town council pot, it might set a precedent for others to come forth. I think if we wanted to donate to the cricket club personally, that's possibly the best way to go. And then those that are fit enough and are able to take part, support them in that way.
Thank you. So I'm not getting negative vibes from the committee. No, I'm getting positive vibes. So would you say that our view is we're minded to support this with ongoing discussions with the town clerk to reaffirm further questions before, in advance of giving a public support? Would that be better? We should allow the town clerk to ask his own questions. Was that your hand to speak, Mayor, or was it just waiting?
Yeah, it was, please.
Thank you. Councillor Geraldine.
I'm just thinking, if he said they've got to be seen to be wearing the pads and gloves, and if he wants to us to wear the regalia, I suppose they will see the pads under all that. It's going to be very heavy running in that, isn't it?
I'd just stick to the chain if I was you, Geraldine.
Yeah, I think you'll just fall over, Geraldine.
Exactly. It'd be a bit cumbersome wearing all that and trying to run as well with pads on.
I don't think we want you falling over. Well, the town crier wants to fall over,
He can fall over.
Or even our bard wants to fall over. That's entirely up to them. I don't think we want you falling over. 22 yards could be a very long distance to fall over in. And everyone picking you up would probably compromise the social distancing, wouldn't it? So we don't really want to do that, and wouldn't make a good picture, and we don't want that. So so are you happy, members, that we are minded to support this with discussions after the meeting between myself and the town clerk, whether we can legally represent the question of funding, and I think I include Terry in that. Is that okay, Terry?
I'm happy with Robbie, absolutely.
And then we will officially correspond with them after that discussion, because I think I don't want to bounce Paul into a yes or a no answer tonight, because he needs to assess this against our own COVID actions, our own actions of the council, and if we say it, then we have to say no. That just looks really bad. But in principle, we are minded to support this event, aren't we? Can I have a show of hands?
I'm supporting it, but I want to say something too, Robin.
Well, we've just gone to the vote, John, so you either support
I've had my hand up for the last 5 minutes, Chair, trying to get, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do.
Okay, well, all right, well, we will hold the vote for you to speak, John.
I'm not going to speak against it. Just a point of information to Margaret is that you don't need to run with a bat. You can still score a run without holding a bat.
Didn't he say we had to have the bat in hand, though?
Of course you do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that you have to have the bat. You can.
That's what he said, though.
Some games don't have 2 bats. They only have 1 bat.
No, there's 2 bats. You can run from end to end, John. Too
You
bad.
can run from end to end, but you don't have to have a bat.
You will do
He
that.
said you did. He said that was one of the requirements. Sorry.
He did, yeah.
In which case, can I move back? Okay, Councillor Christine Strain-Clark, then I want to move back to the vote.
I was just going to say that Councillor Gately was concerned about, cricket balls flying around the pitch. Clearly, he would have talked about sort of visors and helmets and all that, because the danger if you've got a cricket ball, you're not going to be running across cricket balls, I'm sure.
No,
Right.
he didn't mention balls. did
Okay,
he?
in which case we'll bring this to a close and move it forward, because I don't want to have a round of isms and atoms. You did have the gentleman here. You could have asked these questions of him and we've answered them. That's why I'm proposing to suggest that we're minded to support this pending a conversation with the town clerk, and after that with the deputy chairman and myself to discuss the finance issue, and then we'll make a formal statement after that and communicate it to members. Is that agreed?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Please. Is that unanimous?
Yeah, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much. In which case we'll move on to item 5, Appendix B, and the town clerk, I believe, is going to talk us through that. Is that correct?
Excuse me.
Yes. Sorry, just switching screens again. So,
Well, it's just figures on Appendix B, town clerk. Was there anything to say on that?
no, so obviously the Tourist Information Centre hasn't been open since March. It reopened just under a month ago. So once you have those figures, they will show that we have had actual tourists in the town in the last month. Not many. I think the main thing the Tourist Information Centre being open is that it sends a signal that Buckingham is open. And we've had a number of people residents have been in quite a lot asking questions, with obviously selling the face masks. So it's good that we're open.
Right. And 5.1 was the Tourist Information website, just an update on that.
So the Tourist Information website is up, it is live. The things to highlight about it are, this is something that's been in the pipeline for a while. EDWG have talked quite a lot about how do we help promote the town more. We set a budget aside this year, and you agreed a budget as part of the precepts to create a new tourist information website. We've got a quote from the website providers for the town council's website, which was about equivalent to what we paid, several thousand, 2,000 or 3,000, to do it for us. But actually, Emma's done it using a different product that she's basically designed. So in the time when the centre wasn't open, she's built the website herself. We paid, I think, less than £100 to get it up and running as it is. It looks highly professional. We've had loads of feedback. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you to everyone who's gone through it and found typos. I think we're through all those now. We have focused on supporting local businesses and putting up information about businesses that are open, information about parking being free while it was. It will now be a developing resource. The idea is it's the online presence of the Tourist Information Centre. So the unique thing about our TIC is that the staff have a load of intelligence and information about what's happening locally, local businesses, up-to-date information, and that's what will be available through the website. So I think it's excellent. But like I say, it will be a developing thing as it goes on.
Is there anybody wish to ask the town clerk any questions on that? I think it was very positive. I take that as no. Have I missed anybody? Which case, if I've missed anybody, I apologise. I can't see you all on my screen. Okay, thank you. In which case, 5.2, to receive verbal report from the town clerk regarding the accessibility information in the TIC.
So this is a kind of interim update. You'll remember we've talked about the Access Able website, which is a 3-year contract. The 3rd year payment is due in November. So we've got between now and then ready to decide whether to go ahead with it for the final year. We have had a discussion about whether that could be achieved in a different way. And obviously, I don't want to say anything that would be prejudicial when we haven't made decisions on contracts yet. But obviously, it would be possible to use the TIC website we now have and put different information on there. We couldn't copy and paste the information over, but we could probably achieve something at least as good for less money, I'd suggest. So that's...
Well, thank you for that. And we've seen the stats. We should note those because we can do nothing about them. But can I agree that members are very grateful for the work of the officer and the money they've saved for town council in producing a website, and we can record our thanks to the officer in the minutes, please.
Yes,
I think that's really positive work she's undertaken, and whatever. And can I ask the town clerk and the Amanda that we have a report coming to September's meeting to discuss the TIC stroke tourist information, so we can make a decision. Because should we not make that a recommendation to council because it's a contract? So we can make a recommendation which will go to full council. Do members happy with that? So we don't prejudice the decision that way.
Yeah.
And the report can give us several options. Well, thank you very much for that. And with that agreed, I'll move on to item 6, which I believe Amanda's going to give us an update on, which is to do with the Christmas verbal update on the budgets for the Christmas lights, I think it was, wasn't it? And no car parking at almshouses and Christmas lights. Okay.
Okay. As I said at the last meeting, I was looking into extending the Christmas lights from the almshouses to the entrance to Cornwall's Meadow car park. Problem that I've had is with the shops being closed, I've not been able to find out who actually owns the building. Before we went into lockdown, I had been in touch with Harrison's the Jewellers and Clay's the Butchers, and I've got permission from both of those to put icicle lights there. But now that the shops are open, I can start contacting them to find out who actually owns their building. Then we'll need to send a letter to them with a way leave form. So that's where I'm at with that at the moment. But obviously being in lockdown, everything closed has held us up.
Just before members, just one question, Amanda. I don't recall us putting any electrics along that side of the town. Is there electrics we can access with it after we've asked them all?
I've had a look on Google Street Map. For 2 of them, there is somewhere that we could plug into that has lights already, but otherwise we're going to have to get costs for having the lampposts upgraded like we did with the others.
Thank you.
So it's not going to be that straightforward.
No, we'll come back to that afterwards. Any member wish to ask any questions on this before we move off it? Real proposal. Councillor Gately.
It's not really a question, it's more a comment. I think with the way the year has been, it may be particularly important if we can do everything we can to make the town as festive as possible. And this seems like one way we can do that, because the traders have obviously been going through a terrible time. And, you know, I know we don't know what it's going to be like about Christmas time, but hopefully something like lights outside has to be safe, and it makes it more pleasant for people either driving through or walking through, and hopefully shopping. So just really to endorse that.
Before I move on, is there anybody else wishes to speak on this item? In which case, can I propose that we allow Amanda, the town clerk and deputy town clerk, to bring back
Robin, Andy's got his hand up.
Who has?
Andy.
Andy, I did say he didn't. He obviously apologise, Andy.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a question. What about the old post office? Are the lights going to go on that? Have they granted us permission, and are the electrics there?
Amanda.
Right, I've been into the post office to try and find out who owned the building, and they sent me in various directions. I contacted, I think it was Royal Mail, and this was beginning of the year, who then put me onto a management company, and I phoned them. I think they weren't in this area anyway, but I've not been able to get in touch with anybody, so I need to find that phone number again and start again. But with people being in lockdown and working from home, it's a little bit difficult. But yeah, nobody seemed to know who owned that building, and then I had to go through various different numbers when I did get to I think think it was the Royal Mail that put me in touch with the management company, but it's trying to find the right department and the right people.
Are you happy with that, Andy? You've got to come back.
They must know who they're paying rent to, if they are paying rent, or who does the maintenance on that building should they need to call somebody out. So unless it's a wild goose chase.
Are you happy that we carry on with the investigations?
Oh yes, please.
I know Councillor Gately's hopes to do something positive around Christmas, and the fact that there's no problem with socially distancing with lights, and which she made that point very well. So are the members agreed, if it's possible to achieve this, we will pursue it and come back with an update on how it's going to be done? Is that appropriate? Members happy with that?
Yeah, we're happy.
We agree in principle to get on with it as we've already done, and if it's possible, we come back. Okay, we've got time. It's just that I'm not sure from memory, when's the contract for putting the lights up? That's the only question. Do we have to put the final figures in for the contract for them to put them up? Because it will add to the contract.
We've got another 3 years.
Yeah, but this is additional to the contract. Will we have to do this outside? They might charge us additional for this.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Well, we need to know that, because they might come back with some outrageous cost, which we don't really want to meet. That's why it's got to come back, because if they want us to charge half the budget that we spend on all the lights for doing it, we wouldn't really want to do it, would we? So we'll come back with costs and everything. Is that agreed?
Yep, agreed.
Thank you. I think item 7, Amanda was going to give us a briefing on that, a brief update on it, which is we discussed to look at drive-through cinemas. Obviously, the deputy town clerk's been away, but they were looking at it together. Amanda.
Yeah, we had been looking at that, and we were getting quotes, and it was the location that we were looking at mostly. But I think it's sort of come to an end now. Cinemas are open. It might be something we could go back and look at next year. But obviously with the location, I think really we would need a site visit from the companies that we've been looking at. So that, you know, because it's easy to look at Google Map and say, oh yeah, we could go there. But when you actually go to the location, it may be too hilly or not suitable for where they want to put their screen and different things like that.
Thank you, Amanda. I've got Councillor Donahue to speak. Is there anybody else? Okay, Councillor Donahue.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure whether the idea was made because the cinemas were closed in the first instance. I just thought it was going to be an additional thing that we were doing for the town. Am I wrong that the only reason this was being looked into was because the cinemas were closed?
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
I thought it was just
we were
going to be
looking at
something
it
new.
because we couldn't. We were worried about doing something we could see whether it was possible to do something, but things have moved on and changed quite dramatically since then. So a member's happy to thank the officers for the time on it, and we'll return to it at a future date if necessary.
Yeah, it's a shame. It would have been a good idea.
But at the moment, with the cinemas being open, the original cost that I saw, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, was quite expensive, what Claire originally found out, and would be far more than going to the cinema.
Yeah.
So on that basis, if there was no cinema open, it might have been worth pursuing. But with cinemas being open, I don't think it would be appropriate to carry on. Is that agreed? Thank you. In which case, item 8, the dog show. I think Councillor Donahue and the events coordinator is going to jointly lead on this. Are you going to kick off, Amanda? Then Councillor Donahue will come in next.
Okay. I've put a copy of a report into the agenda with a recommendation that a final decision is made as to whether we go forward with a physical event or an online dog show. But we sort of need to know fairly soon as to what we're going to do, so that I can get everything ready for it. I had taken to the last meeting the plan that I had for doing an online dog show, and that would be people submitting their pictures of their dogs in advance, so we wouldn't have it, you know, so that it was live on Zoom or YouTube or anything, and then we would sort of judge the pictures, so that on the Sunday the 13th, which is when we would do our live dog show, we would have our best in show, and then the mayor could judge the pictures of the dogs that have gone through to best in show. I've been in touch with Kimberly Cox, who normally does our judging, and she's happy to do whatever we decide. So she's still on board. Leaders, the estate agents are on board, and also I was waiting to hear back from the vets, because the people that I deal with hadn't been there during lockdown.
Thank you. Councillor Donoghue.
Thank you. Yeah, I think as time is getting on and the country hasn't opened up, you know, fully, I just think it'd be a wise idea to allow Amanda, myself and Terry to make a start on, let's do an online dog show this year, and let's make a start on planning for that now, so that we've got time in the lead up. We can start advertising. I can still do posters. If the partners still want to be involved, then, you know, we'll accept their involvement if it means that we're not spending out as much money. And Amanda and I spoke about prizes. We can do vouchers rather than actual gifts of prizes, and that way there's not going to be any issue over COVID. So we can you know, do the prizes in gift voucher form. And yeah, so I would like members to agree to this if possible.
Yeah, I just want Councillor Bloomfield wanted to add to it, because you've both been quite major on that event. Councillor Bloomfield, can you unmute? Can you unmute? Councillor Bloomfield, you're still muted. Can you unmute?
He's trying.
He's trying, that's a shame. Sometimes I bet Terry'd like to mute me.
There you go.
Thank you, Terry.
Can I just ask Amanda, all those people on board, Amanda, is that for an online show as well?
Leaders just do the advertising boards that go out on the roundabouts.
Will they still back either online or live dog show?
Yes, Kimberly is happy to go with whichever we do.
Well, then I agree with both Amanda and Lisa that we should go with the virtual dog show, because for one thing, the government hasn't said that you can have more than 30 people on an outside event at the moment, and if that doesn't come to the end of August, you're not going to have time to get it ready anyway. Yeah. So I would back the online dog show 100%, Robin.
Thank you. I know that Amanda's been, you might not know, she has been doing some work to try and contact other people in the country about what they're going on, but they haven't actually sent through their risk assessments of what it was going to be, and that isn't here for tonight. So we really have to decide what we're doing tonight. Can I put this to members? Are you agreed to take the proposer and the seconder as the way forward? Is that agreed?
We're voting.
We're voting, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Can I be clear what we're voting on?
I'm sorry, Margaret. We're voting to do the online dog thing, because both both event people who've done it for a number of years, Councillor Donoghue and Councillor Bloomfield, have proposed and seconded that we do the online and not attempt to do a live dog show because of the time of putting the energy into organising this online one properly, rather than splitting the efforts. That's what they're proposing. Are you happy with that? That's what we were voting.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely the right way forward. I think we've got to be very cautious, and as we've seen with the travel restrictions, things can change very quickly as well.
And are we now? Have we agreed that? I think.
Yeah.
Which case, can we further agree that both Councillor Donoghue and Councillor Bloomfield and myself will work on the an appropriate press release with the officers. I have another contact which I'm not going to mention here, which which is to do with this type of event. I found out through my conversations the other day, it might be that we can contact those as well. You know.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you. And
if I may, we give all the help that Amanda needs to organise it.
Correct.
Thank
and
you,
that's
everyone.
what we're all here for.
All the help she needs.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, 9.1, to receive a report of play around the parishes from the events coordinator.
Up until, I think last week, the week before, Buckinghamshire Council were going to go ahead and do the play around the parishes sessions that we usually run for the 0 to 11-year-olds through the summer. I then had an email from Becky Otway to say that they were now unable to do that, but they had put together an activity and family hunt. So today I went out with Bethany and we put up the printed letters. They're all around Bourton Park. They'll be up for 2 weeks, and families can go onto our website and download a I don't know what they called it, a finders page, and it's got little pictures of all the things that I've put up around the park. And so what they'll do is they'll go around, find these letters, mark them down with the corresponding picture on the sheet, and then it'll spell out something. There's no prizes for it. It was just something that they wanted to do instead of play around the parishes, and there's no cost to it either. So we've saved whatever money we were going to spend on play around the parishes.
Right.
There's 2 other categories for it, and so we'll replace it on the 10th of August, and then 2 weeks after that we'll replace it with the last one.
Well, before we talk about that, I think it'd be appropriate that we talk about 9.2 as well. I think the town clerk should lead on that, and the proposal for events, because there's this play around the parish, not necessarily got a budget decision in it, but the report proposal summer events has. So I think it's important we discuss that. I know there's some comments in the report to do with a meeting to the bag, but Councillor Donahue attended as well. And if I can allow the town clerk to just make some comments about the report, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you. So just to note that there are 2 distinct recommendations in the report. So we'll talk about play around the parish and youth activities, and then we'll talk about the Lace Hill Snake. As you can see, the outcome of the BAG meeting, Buckingham Activities Group, was that the activities that would normally happen in the summer, along with play around the parishes, are not happening. So in terms of physical stuff for young people to do, there's really not very much, unless they're doing paid for sporting activities in the restricted numbers that are available. Following play around the parishes not working, we looked around to see if anybody could provide activities. And obviously we need someone, an organisation that's qualified and quality assured to provide youth work and deliver the kind of activities we'll be looking at. The only viable provider we found is Action for Youth. Action for Youth are involved with the youth club, involved with Buckingham. They're prepared to deliver something like the activities listed. I don't think they can deliver kayaking in Buckingham, but they'll provide something else from that list. And once they've done a site visit to confirm that they can't. To be honest, this is a case of we're keen to do something and provide something. This is the only option on the table to provide something. Actually, play around the parishes is 3 sessions. This would give us 1 every week over the 4-week period. The community board would keep, well, the community board have allocated funding to Buckinghamshire councillors for COVID response, and my understanding is likely that we could receive up to £2,000 from that budget. So I'm recommending we allocate the rest of it from the budget codes I put. Because actually you could accommodate 15 people at a time in the sessions, we'll be quite cautious working with Action for Youth about how widely we promote it. Because what we really want to do is work with young people who are gathering in parks anyway, rather than advertise widely and then have large numbers turn up and then be turned away and be disappointed. So we'd really have to manage that to make sure we've got full sessions but not over full, and that's a challenge we'd work out with them. So it would be something of a flexible approach. They'd do some work to engage with young people. They might adapt to which sessions are offered compared to what's popular in week 1, we'd be keen to work with them in that context.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Just to be for my own, I mean, Town Clerk, we've called you a councillor and chairman tonight. We're doing well.
Double promotion.
All you've got to be now is a ground maintenance staff, and we've got it all covered. Just to say, I have been involved in the correspondence as to do with the the funding from the Buckinghamshire Council, and I understand that with the chairman being away, the officer in my correspondence I saw said she was going to go to the deputy chairman, which is Councillor Warren White, and was going to correspond with Patrick Feely and myself. So I'm hoping that that will transpire very quickly. Obviously, she's not got that answer to us tonight, but it looked very promising. If I come back to Councillor Donoghue, because she was involved in the bag group, and then I'll come back to any other members if people are happy with that.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Yes, so the activities that came from the Buckingham activity group came from young people themselves. So it would be really nice if we can get some of those things off the ground, because word is that they are bored, really, really bored. So I'm pleased Action for Youth, who have got trained workers and don't rely on volunteers from the community, that if they're able to provide something, then I think we should agree as a committee to allow that to happen. Because, you know, it's just unfortunate that all the clubs that we would usually have on in town are not happening over the summer. So yeah, I hope members can agree the recommendations.
Thank you very much. Any other member wish to speak on this item?
Councillor Harvey.
Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I looked through this. I thought I was really impressed, to be honest, by the range of activities that they're proposing to run. And I would certainly second Councillor Donoghue's suggestion that we back this. I think it's great. Let's go for it. I think that can help relieve some of this boredom of which he speaks. I think it's a good idea, and this looks to be a very creative way of approaching it.
Thank you very much for that positive addition from both of you. I was hoping that was what was going to come. And we're a pretty kind-hearted bunch. So the other thing we have to be minded of the fact is, if we don't do this, what on earth's going to take place for young people in Buckingham? And we don't know what it is, but we can fund this, and we can do this in partnership. So firstly, we've got proposed by Councillor Donoghue and seconded by Councillor Harvey. Can I take that to a vote, please?
That is unanimous.
Thank you very much. And then lastly, are we agreed that we will work on a sympathetic press release which emphasises the partnership of this and the proportionality of spend on this event?
Agreed.
Yeah. And we'll also, with the town clerk, communicate, because in this you will notice you've agreed money for item later in the agenda, the snake at Lacehill, and I'll ask Amanda and the town clerk to take up the conversation that we've agreed that funding and sort that out as we go along separately. Is that okay? Because that went to environment firstly, and it's come to us because we were dealing with this project. So we've done two things tonight which are youth orientated, so that's good. And the reason you could do that is because we wired the money before the end of the year, which is why we've got the money, because we agreed to wire money from one budget to another. That's why the reason we can afford to do it. Well, thank you very much for that, members, and we'll do a press release which members will be all copied into. Okay, in which case I'll move on to item 10, which is the river rinse. Verbal update from the events coordinator. She's been having conversations with people which hasn't made the agenda, so I will allow her to lead.
With the river rinse, the first one is scheduled for, I think it's the 26th, 27th of September. I've been in touch with the Stowe Sub-Aqua group 2 or 3 times and spoke to Roger Beret this afternoon, and they are currently amending their risk assessment for the event to include COVID-19. So he'll send that through to me by the end of the week. And I think we could go ahead with this, but maybe not advertise it so that we don't get the public turning up, because I think we could maybe do like social bubbles or something, so that they would be one group. They will know how to distance themselves, and then just work with minimum people on the riverbank rather than have a lot of people turning up with their children. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to see what I get from the Stosa Aqua group.
I've got Councillor Margaret Gately, Councillor Donahue, and Councillor Bloomfield to speak. I'll take you in that order. If there's anybody else I've missed, I apologise.
Thank you.
Margaret.
Just a question. I may have got this completely wrong, but is our litter pick scheduled for one of the dates of the river rinse as well?
Yes.
It makes quite a lot of sense to do the things side by side, but yeah, perhaps you could just confirm that.
Yes, back was it beginning of the year when I put in the dates for the river rinse, the litter pick was going to be earlier in the year, but then they changed it and it did coincide with this first rinse. But we will obviously have to look at that. Keep Britain Tidy. Oh, sorry about that. Keep Britain Tidy update their website regarding COVID. So I'm keeping an eye on that to see what their latest recommendation is, and obviously we'll follow their guidelines as well.
Councillor Donahue.
But I think if we did that, then people would have to do it maybe just family groups, not a whole group, you know, like the conservation group or anything like that. They'd have to split themselves up.
Before we go, Margaret, that's not actually on the agenda, but we will discuss it because you rightly raised it. I'll go to Councillor Donahue and then Councillor Bloomfield.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I think it's really positive that the sub-ACRA group are wanting to get involved and will provide an updated COVID risk assessment. So I'm really pleased that something as important as this may still go ahead, because it is important to keep our rivers clean. So thank you for that, Amanda.
Councillor Bloomfield.
Okay.
No, mine was the same as Margaret's about the litter pick.
Right. Was there anybody else with any other comments before we just discuss that little item of the litter pick while we're here? Okay, I take it there isn't, because I can't see anybody's hands. If I missed it, I apologise. In which case, are you happy, Margaret, that we go and look at that? Because the litter pick, people can go all around the town and do on their own, can't they? And they don't have to be necessarily in groups, do they? So it's probably something we should look at and come back with a note from the officers when we've looked at that. And agree in principle, if possible, we'll do it. But we need to just check that, because of remember we discussed the cricket club and everything, and the handling of equipment and the gloves and all that type of thing, and who does what. We just need to check that, I think. But before I come back to Amanda, are we minded to go ahead unless anything in principle now we're favourable to go ahead unless we get something coming back telling us we can't? Is that agreed? And I'll come back to Amanda for the last word.
Okay, back to the river rinse. I think with that, I'm going to speak to Lee, because we usually provide gloves and the litter pickers, and I'm wondering if maybe if people do, you know, come along like any of us, that we bring our own gloves rather than
rather than
you know, us handing them out. And we'll have to also talk to Lee about how we're going to sanitize the litter pickers.
I should provide my own waders.
Okay.
I don't want anyone getting the waders with me. There's not enough room now. There was never before. There's definitely not enough room inside those waders.
Sanitize them before you get in the river, Robin.
Yeah. Councillor Ari.
Oh, thank you. Just through Chairman, just for Amanda, I have the litter pickers in my garage at the moment.
Well, that's no good there, Andy.
But you sanitize them.
Are you going to leave them safely sterile? in your garage.
Yeah.
Because you haven't touched them, so you've been there before the COVID outbreak, so they are safe. It's quite a good important thing. Is they've been up the store, they may have been handled. So the fact that you've got them, Councillor Murray, has probably kept them really safe. Very well done. Your foresight there was tremendous. So in which case, are we happy to move on with that and agree that go forward? We'll do appropriate press releases thereafter.
Yeah.
Item 11, Bard of Buckingham. I believe the town clerk's going to give us a verbal update.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So you remember the Bard of Buckingham isn't a town council project, but it's a project that works with the town council. So we haven't set a budget, for example, for the Bard from the town council, but last year we did use officer time to support the initial event, which was the election, and obviously the Bards come to several events and perform poetry about the event at the events, which has gone down very well at some, actually. I know that Marshall, the showman, was very impressed last year at the fair. Initially, the Bard was going to be for a 2-year period. We had a meeting with the Bardic Council a couple of weeks ago, and really I think what Dean Jones feels is that a year is long enough. So to actually do a poem for each of the council's events is a challenge. To have to do the same, to come up with another poem for every council event for another year is a bigger challenge. And also it's a new thing. And if Dean was to carry on being the Bard for a second year, there's a real risk that the role of Bard would become too associated with one person. So the idea was always you elect a Bard every year. So every year there's a different voice and a different person. And obviously different people do all kinds of different things. You might have a poet, you might have a singer in different styles. So I think Dean's keen to stand down in October and find someone else. So the proposal is to hold an election event this year like we did last year. I think the Bardic Council would like to hold an in-person event, possibly a hybrid event, if we could. So something, for example, like the Woolpack, where people perform, there's a few people social distance in the audience, but at the same time, we promote it on Zoom for people to watch. And if we could find a way of people voting live with an app who are watching it, as well as being there, as to who wins, that would be ideal. That's not a firm plan because we haven't gone through all the details, but that's the vision. And obviously, between now and October, it will become clearer what government guidelines are at the time. So the intention is to elect a new Bard in October and then see where it goes. I think the reflection on the Bard would be that the initial launch of the Bard went quite well. Dean put a lot of effort into the poetry programme, where each of the schools were asked to get young people to write poems, and there was going to be a tree of poems in the library with 100 poems in about Buckingham. A few of the schools did do those, and Dean's got a big pile of poems now, but unfortunately because of lockdown the whole process had to stop. So what was going to become really positive is just on hold, and hopefully we'll be able to recover back from that in the autumn, or we might have to restart it again. So it's unfortunate we hit that hiatus. And obviously one of the key things about the Bard is it is performance poetry, and performance poetry doesn't work as well online as it does with a room of people. That's just a challenge. You can do it online, but it's not quite the same.
Thank you very much, Town Clerk. Councillor Murray, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. While we're talking about the Bard, and I'm sad to hear that Dean wants to step down in October because he's done an excellent job. As a grateful council, I think we should give him a token of our appreciation, something like a silver salver saying Bard of Buckingham 2019 to 2020. If the councillors have a view on that, but I think we should do something like that.
I think that's a full council decision, Andy. If you want to make a recommendation that we recommend that to full council, quite happy for that to be a way forward. If you're proposing that and someone seconds it, we can recommend.
I'll second Councillor Murphy.
Yeah. We make that a recommendation to full council then?
Yes.
Let full council decide where the budget's going to come from.
Sorry, can we debate that first before we make a recommendation, councillors? That's great.
Well, quite happily. I didn't see you, John. I do apologise. Do you want? Let's debate it then.
A point of order, Chairman. There's no need to debate it because anyone can make a recommendation to full council.
but it would come from the committee. We can do it this way, or we can send it the other way. But let Councillor Harvey speak, and then we'll come back, see what he's got to say.
Well, I'll deal with the second point first and come back to Dean doing it for 1 year. I'm just not sure a silver salver is the most appropriate. I think something that represents the art of writing would be more appropriate. I don't know, like a quill pen or something like that. That's what I was wanting to say. I think the idea in principle of awarding something to a bard is a nice idea. I'm just not sure that another silver salver would be the best choice. But you know, I'm open to debate on that.
It doesn't have to be silver salver.
Councillor Donahue, and then we'll come
Can
back.
I finish what I've got? A second point, Councillor Dutch. Can I finish my second point? My second point is, I think Dean has done a fabulous, year so far, and I quite understand why he's probably exhausted, because he's been doing a stonking good job, often with not as much support as I think he was hoping for. And I think I think 1 year is plenty, frankly, and I think all the reasons that the town clerk listed are good reasons, and we should be glad that he's done as much as he has done, and look forward to electing a new bard come October.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Apologise for stopping you in full flow. Councillor Donahue.
Thank you, Chair. I'd agree with Councillor Harvey's suggestion. I think a salver isn't right for a bard of Buckingham. I think something more appropriate, like he suggested, a quill. I think we need to have it appropriate for the role.
I agree with that.
I'll just come back to Councillor Mari. Are you happy with the suggestion of the quill?
Yes, I was just making a suggestion, open to suggestion from the council, of course. So, but to show our appreciation, really, it could be a salver, could be a quill, could be a silver quill on with a plaque attached to it, whatever. But it's just showing that we, as a council, are grateful for his efforts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
We'll go to the town clerk's got his hand up, waving wisely at the top there.
I admire your optimism, Chairman. So would something that the committee would assume would normally then take part as part of the mayor making, where we give the salver to the mayor, we make community awards. So if we go into the future, it would naturally become part of that whole process.
Yeah.
Where you recognise the bard in that meeting.
Yeah.
And this year, if we can get to the point of having that kind of meeting, then we'll do it as part of everybody else at the same time.
Yeah.
Are members happy with that?
Well,
Yeah, we are happy.
And we're happy we take on board what the town clerk has said and move forward.
Yep.
And thank you, John, for.
hold on, can I speak, Robin?
Councillor Bloomfield, I'm sorry. I apologise.
If Dean's packing up in October, that seems a long, long time to wait through to mayor making in May.
Well, no, my comment was we haven't done anything this year, so because we didn't do mayor making,
Right.
hasn't yet got his salver for being mayor. So at some point we're going to have to do that and discuss for this year. So when that is, I don't know yet.
Yeah, sorry.
Are you happy with that, Councillor
Yeah,
Bloomfield?
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for that. And I apologise to John for interrupting you again.
You're getting a lot of apologies.
I got to keep apologising. You know, more times you apologise, the less times you'll have to do it in the future. Now, in which case we come on to item 12, which is the calendar. Are we happy to proceed with this how we did last year? And it went very well. Are we happy to agree that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Hang
Item.
on. Councillor Harvey's got his hand up.
Okay, right.
Sorry,
Councillor
yes, I think we should proceed with it. I note that not many entries have come in yet. I think it's going to need a bit more promoting. I know the person who submitted some entries already, and he's a damn good photographer, and his photographs often go down well on social media. But I think we need to kind of push this a little bit more, maybe even to the schools perhaps as well, so we can get some more entrants. I don't know when the closing date is, 31st of August. I think we need to kind of push that back a little bit so that we can involve the schools. So I propose that we maybe leave it, if the printing will allow, the schedule of the printing will allow, to maybe the end of September. Because August now is, people write off August. They think about other things rather than photography. And I would say, why not leave it to the end of September, as long as that's possible to get the calendars done in time.
I'll take the town clerk's advice on that.
The short answer is it's Emma's project and she's on leave tonight, or she would be here. So I'd suggest we propose that, but allow Emma to make the final decision based on what the project timescales are.
Yeah, agreed.
Is that agreed?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. In which case, we've got a proposal here on item 13, which suggests about summer activities 2021 from Councillor Warren White. I open it up for discussion. Okay. Nobody got their hand up to speak?
John's got his hand up.
John, you speak first then, John. You're out of my eyesight.
I struggle to see why we'd be getting involved in this. We already produce the Buckingham Town Matters journal 4 times a year. There's lots of social media going on. There's already a local newspaper which contains a What's On column as well, and something, I think a liaison between What's On and the newspaper would be a much better one. I don't see that the town council should be spending resources on this. I mean, we can point people towards where the information is, perhaps. And I know some people, a few people are not online, but I would say most people are these days. And maybe in some of the kind of ones we're now pinning to the lamppost, there could be a kind of nudge towards people towards that site if they wish to go. But I don't think we should be involving the town council in producing what could be a very expensive newspaper, which would almost certainly be out of date by the time it gets published.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harvey, for that. Didn't want to speak, but has anybody else got any bits on as far as speak? Councillor Donoghue.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd have to agree with John again. I think we already produce our own publication, and I think to spend more money on something else, something additional, I don't think we need to. I think ours is fine as it is, and the use of social media is good. So I think if Warren wants to do something additional to support his What's On page, then good luck to him on that.
The only thing I was going to say was that I know it's on my agenda, and it's to do with events, so to speak. But we have a communication strategy group, and maybe this was something that we have we asked them to look at many things for us, and it maybe should have been taken in the realm there. But I'm not, I encourage his enthusiasm, but we have just managed to get our 4 issues a year recognised and building up a brand of the Buckingham Town Council, and we do take other stuff in it, and the communication strategy group and the officers have done a grand job at getting it to where it is. Yeah. And they do a lot of work on that, and we could cloud that issue by spending our money on promoting something else. So I go with the 2 councillors on this. I think it's the wrong thing for us to do. So are we going to write back politely saying that we feel it would be a conflict with what we're trying to achieve at this time? But yeah, we'll carry on. We're only open to communication, and we do have a magazine if he's got events which he can write to the communications group if it's in time to be included.
Yeah.
And it's up to them to consider it, not us. Councillor Gately.
Well, just as you've referred to CSG on that, we wouldn't automatically include something that Warren sent in because of space issues. I think
exactly
we couldn't make any kind of promise to that effect. Obviously, no. It's something we would consider, but we haven't looked at anything like that up till now.
No, I'm not. I apologise, Councillor Gately. I was just saying that my whole concern with it was that we have a communication strategy group who are working hard to produce 4 leaflets a year and everything else, and trying to do something else like was already suggested undermines that work. And I think, to their credit, that's actually starting to build quite a decent brand and quite a decent communication. It gets to people who haven't got internet, which is a really important thing. And I've not found one of them booklets that and things that come through and got something of use in it. So I don't think we need it really. It's a lovely idea, but town council money should be spent on town council stuff really. So we're going to write politely back to him. Is that agreed? Yeah. Is that additional, Councillor Donny? You're just saying right back to him. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Revise item 14, COVID. I'm just suggesting, unless the town clerk's going to say differently, we note this because it's going to change next time we meet. And the figures we see now have changed from the figures we saw before. And at some point, we should discuss it in the round, what the changes are, because they have sort of gone down remarkably, unless I'm reading it wrong. Our percentage of the cost has gone down. May go down even more when the markets picks up. So I'm just suggesting we note it unless the town clerk thinks he needs to add something.
Agreed, noted.
Noted.
Okay. In which case, item 15, budget. I'll just get to the pages because it's I apologise, I'm just reading from one page now. I'll take it by page if members are happy. What I've got is page 1. Any concerns? No. Page 2. Any concerns? I take that as no. Councillor Gately, I apologise.
I'm just struggling to see where you're getting page one and things like that from, because I've got 17 of 29 and things like that.
Well, on my copy it says page 1 and page 2. Can only go by what it says on my copy.
Yeah, top right hand corner.
All right.
That's all I can go by. It's got lots of other things on it. Month number 4, 20th of the 7th, 2020. But that's what I'm going on. It might be different on electronic version, Margaret, if that's the case. But page 2, I've taken. Is there any concerns on page 2?
No.
Okay, thank you. Page 3, which is month 4. Any concerns? Thank you. And page 1, which is the earmark reserve. Has members got anything? Councillor Harvey.
Just a question. Is there any chance we're going to be spending that solar panel money soon, Town Clerk?
When we can find companies who are ready to give us quotes against the tender we want to put out, yes.
Okay. Well, the second subsidiary question is, the governments are making grants available to householders to install improvements in energy efficiency. Is there any way which there's anything for councils like us to avail themselves of grants from the ever so generous Mr. Rishi Sunak at the moment?
From what the government has said so far, probably not, but they've not actually published the details yet. So when the details come out, we'll definitely analyse them to see if there is an opportunity. Okay.
All right. I'm going to keep pressing. I just want them blooming things up.
Well, can I suggest, John, that you ask for that, because it should be an update on the Environment Committee, because it's really environment budget.
I know.
I think we should get an update of where we are. Clearly, the town clerk's having difficulty with that, and I know it was a project that you historically wanted to get forward, and it just seemed to have, for all sorts of reasons, been not progressed. And I understand.
Yeah, only for the last 9 years, but you know, I'm mostly generally fairly patient.
You know, I mean, it only took us 11 years to get, was it 7 years to get toilets or something ridiculous? So hang in there, John. Hang in there. I mean, we eventually got public toilets, and fortunately, we managed to. In the end, we got something really fantastic. So hang in there, chap. It will come about, and when it happens, we can get you a picture of you on the roof, like other councillors in the town, with solar panels. That will be most appropriate, I think, as long as we can check it out for safety reasons. And you will be wearing a hard hat and a mask if necessary.
Of course.
So don't lose heart. Now, item 16, we've done that, haven't we? So Item 17, and the events coordinator to report from the town clerk on co-opting committee members. You see there's a report in here. Can we just, are we happy to agree that? The town clerk can comment on it if necessary.
Yeah, the reason for the report is Robin asked me to put a report up about the kind of legal basis for appointing non-committee members to the committee. And so standing orders allow us to do that. And so the committee can appoint non-councillors to the committee if you so choose.
So I explain my logic is we have the same group of sterling members who attend every event. And if we have events and it's appropriate and the committee see it appropriate, we may wish to co-opt people on the different discussions, but that's not a discussion for tonight. It's just to allow members to suggest that, really. So we can get more support for the officers, staff and the event that we're trying to achieve. Not to nominate anything tonight. It will come out as we proceed as council or committee, I should say. So is that agreed or noted?
Agreed.
Right, okay. The lay seal snake, we've rather preempted that in the sense that you've agreed the budget now to actually take that forward. In the previous item on considering proposals for summer activities. So are you just minded to note that now, and we'll bring back something to members at a later date? Yeah. Item 19.
No, Robin, I've got something to say.
Councillor Harvey.
Right, well, first off, I didn't know we'd actually agreed the budget for this, but okay, so be it. But can I raise some concerns about the proposal? Because one is that there may well be stones in the snake that are very precious, perhaps, to the artists, be they young or old, and they may not want them to be part of any kind of fixed installation. And I think they should be allowed to opt out if they wish to. Secondly, I wasn't quite clear where this was going to be, and wherever it was going to be, whether permission was required to install it. Forgive me if I've lost track of that detail. Thirdly, are there some stones there, perhaps, that might not be appropriate? They might say things that actually others would object to. I mean, I've not been through every single stone to check that there's nothing offensive in what anybody said. I'm sure there probably isn't, but there might be. So someone's going to have to do an editorial control of what stones actually end up set in concrete. And thirdly, I don't know, it's just maybe the artist in me is saying this was designed to be some sort of ephemeral art that was done spontaneously and so forth. And by putting it fix it into concrete, then that's kind of ossifying something that remains dynamic and growing. If we put it into concrete, what happens to anybody else who wants to add another stone? Do they have to add another bit of concrete to it? I don't know. It's just
well, let me try and I'll try.
I just question whether it's the right approach.
Let me unpack you some of that. If you recall, we had a contact with the Environment Committee, and I believe that there was discussions about finding a suitable place, if possible, and I believe there was discussions about, and I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong, about Lace Hill. That was the request for help was coming from Lace Hill. Could we find somewhere appropriate to have a permanent feature, because they put a lot of effort and emotion into this event, and as it's an important part of our community, as Councillor Donny, who defended it strongly the other week at the first Buckingham meeting of the board, we were doing it on that basis, and then because we have to fund it from somewhere, and because we're doing a youth orientated activities, it seems logical to agree it in there. And I did mention and premise that the snake was in there in the funding, and so did the town clerk. So you when you voted for doing that, you had known you voted for the funding. And I'll ask the town clerk to come back now.
On which point, sorry, Robin? On
anything additional to what I've said, which was incorrect, wrong, or whatever?
No, you haven't said anything incorrect or wrong. I mean, obviously, Councillor Harvey raises issues around is it appropriate to concrete it in. which is subject for discussion. We absolutely would check all the rocks before they went in, and we would do an exercise. We put up posters for a couple of weeks about, if you don't want your rock to be included, please let us know. But it was very much a proposal that came from a set of residents at Lace Hill who've been involved in creating it. It's not our idea, it's their idea that we're trying to.
Councillor Harvey, does that rest with those?
Well, I don't remember talking about this before at the Environment Committee meeting. It might have been one that I missed. I can't recall. I'm just saying I have some concerns, but if people up there are confident that this is the best way forward, then I'm not one to second guess it. But I think there are some issues of governance and probity that we need to be aware of, that clearly the town clerk already is aware of, so that's fine.
Are we happy to proceed with this? Because it'd be rather silly that we've agreed the budget and then we cancel the project, wouldn't it? So are we invited to create with all the concerns raised by Councillor Harvey taken into consideration, and no officer's going to put anything there which is unsightly, mildly offensive, and I understand Councillor Harvey's view totally on that. I do empathise. So are we happy to do that? And if there's any further concerns and we have a further conversation about this, it will come back to committee to be ratified if there's a change. But I don't want to force anything on anyone, but we'll agree to go ahead on that basis. Is that agreed?
Yes, agreed.
And I think we should give John a note about it as it progresses, because he's raised the concerns. We should just give him a note about those issues that he's raised tonight. I think we should get a response properly. Right, item 19, forthcoming events. I'll let Amanda lead on this.
Okay, we had correspondence recently from the circus, and all their August events have been cancelled. So the circus is cancelled. VJ Day. Andy Cooper from the British Legion is asking what our plans are for that. And I think we had talked once before that we may go ahead with that as we did with the VE Day and just do something online, because we still can't do social gatherings in the town. So we would have a speech from the mayor for online, similar to what we did for VE Day, and we could have the piper, town crier.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are members happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, next item,
Okay,
Amanda.
good. Bandjam. I have still not been able to get hold of Lee Maloney, who organises Bandjam. I think Councillor Stutchbury has tried as well. And also somebody that works behind the scenes with Lee on the day. He has tried as well, and nobody's been able to get hold of him. But obviously, we need to cancel that as well due to social gatherings, and we can get up to 1,000 people there. So, and I don't think outdoor music events have been approved yet by the government.
No.
Dog show we've discussed, river rinse we've discussed. Charter Fair, I've had correspondence from the head showman, and he has sent through to me at the weekend the documents from the Showman's Guild, and they're all dated 15th of July. So it's their risk assessments and how they will handle the COVID. Marshall is waiting to hear what's going to happen at Blackheath and also Oxford St Giles. They've all submitted their paperwork to the safety advisory group for their local area. Once he gets word back from them, he's going to send me copies of their risk assessments as well, so that we can see what's been put in those and that was approved. But at the moment, we still have no idea what's happening with the Charter Fair. And then that's basically the same with all the other events for the rest of the year, because they're large outdoor events that draw crowds. We need to have a meeting with the British Legion shortly to find out what's going on there. I've been checking the British Legion's website to see what they're advising for parades, but there's nothing on there at the moment. Christmas parade, because that can draw crowds of up to 5,000 people depending on the weather. and how they will go ahead and do the floats or walking groups, I don't know. So we need to meet with the Christmas Parade Committee to go over that. Because we also need to think that we need 36 marshals. Are we going to get 36 marshals? Because will they want to come out and stand at barriers during all of this? So that's where we are at the moment.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, you said the obvious, which we're all aware of, and we will keep updating members with the best science that we get, whatever science we get. The British Legion Christmas Parade and the remembrance, and remember, they are not our events. They are the British Legion's events. They made that very clear, and we facilitate it. The Christmas Parade, it's not our event. We facilitate it and fund it. So our standing orders, which Councillor Donoghue wants to look at again, actually state that. So it's not for us to decide whether they cancel those events. It's for those organisations to speak for themselves. What we do, I think previous chairmen know this, is that we facilitate that event and support it and fund it in many cases. So we need to get them to make that decision, which is not our job to actually say it's not going ahead. Only thing we can operate on is the fact that the road closure for the Christmas Parade is ours. That's the only consideration, and the funding for it is ours. But the Remembrance Day is very much a British Legion affair, and it's no longer within our road closure order, I don't believe, unless it was added back in out of my sight. Is that correct? And I know Councillor Mahi had his hand up to comment. Councillor Mahi.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, as Amanda said, the road closure is ours. And if we can't get the marshals to do it, they can't have an event, because we cannot risk, the public from being run over if you can't have enough marshals to do road closures. So whether the British Legion or Christmas Parade, if they want to provide us with the marshals, that's another topic to be discussed. But at the moment, that road closure is our road closure. And it is our lads who get up in the morning and put all the barriers and the signposts and everything else. And therefore, we are involved as far as that is concerned. If you don't have enough people, then the event can't go ahead on safety grounds.
Just to come back, Councillor Mahi, the Christmas Parade, we do everything to facilitate that. I mean, we put out the signs and everything, and we help coordinate with their marshals. But it's their marshals, and it's a slightly different event, because the British Legion, unless I'm being told differently, it's their road closure order, and councillors volunteer to be marshals with them. Now, and it's not our road closure, because we used to do the whole lot round the church at one time, and it was all ours. And then I think it was put in to the Royal British Legion did their own road closure on it. I want Amanda to come back on this, because it's important we get this it correctly. Thank you.
The road closure is ours from 7 AM until 10:29, and then from 10:29 till I think it's 12:15 or something. It's a county-wide closure. So we only have that short little bit.
That's the Market Square, isn't it?
Covers all of it, so that we can set out the signage, etc.
But it is their event. I think we need to get some proper conversations going. We've got another item on here, number 20. So I think we can perhaps incorporate part of that conversation into that. What we don't want to do is wrong-foot that organisation. So a member's happy just to note that stuff and note Councillor Mahi and everybody's thoughts. And item 20, the war memorial. Obviously, it was agreed that myself would go along and discuss about it. Was it got recommended from the Environment Committee to come to us to discuss about the crowding and spacing of the war memorial, because last year the comments with the Environment Committee and the full council was it was a competition of how many chairs we could get there and to discuss about the spacing. Are you happy because I don't think we need to do this on too big a group approach. Are you happy that I, as the chairman, and the town clerk start the discussions? And then, because I don't want too many people attending a meeting like that, because it can create the wrong, like there's a real problem where I think we can just resolve it nicely. You know, if we turn up mob-handed, it looks like we're ready to have a go, don't it? And we're not really. Are you happy with us to do that?
Yeah.
And if I'm not available, Terry, will you attend on my behalf for any reason?
Yes. Oh, well, Geraldine's got her hand up, Robin.
I can't see. She's disappeared out of my line of sight. Yeah. The mayor, where are you, my dad? Geraldine, Councillor Collins.
Oh, she's gone.
She's obviously, that's it. She's gone.
There you go.
Okay, is she
I've
back?
just unmuted myself. I'm
You-
just
have you
wondering,
unmuted? Yeah, go on.
where on earth are you thinking about? I don't think we should move the war memorial at all.
It's not.
I don't-
No, we're not talking about moving the war memorial, Mayor. We've cancelled that out.
You've
Part of the
cancelled it
conversation-
out.
No, that was agreed in a previous meeting that you were present at. That decision was took by the Environment Committee and it was decided by another committee. This is nothing to do with the War Memorial. We are not the Environment Committee, we are the Events Committee, and we work with people to do events. And members expressed concern about the spacing around the War Memorial. Now, that was before COVID, remember? And there's a whole conversation about the spacing around there, where the mayor stands, where the civics people stand, where the councillors stand, and most importantly, where the retired members of the British Legion stand. There were spaces in one part of it last year, and there was children close together. And we were just going to enter a conversation whether we can get that finely tuned to improve it, so that it's not a feature about chairs, it's a feature about people. Last year it looked like the chairs won.
Okay.
Is that okay? Councillor Donny, you waved your hand, or did you want to speak? Amanda.
When Councillor O'Donoghue was mayor, we had a meeting with the British Legion and there was a protocol that was drawn up and agreed by committee and signed, and also like a map of how everybody would parade up to the church and then where they would stand. And for some reason that didn't work last year. I'm not quite sure why, but when I saw the pictures, people had gone up there, but not kind of gone to the areas that were marked out for them.
Yeah.
But that was when Councillor O'Donoghue was mayor that was all drawn up.
I'll come back to Councillor Mahi and then maybe we can close this item off. Councillor Mahi.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe we should have a marshal to direct the people where they should stand or be in accordance with the map that Amanda is talking about, because I know there is a map and there's a protocol to all this. And when I was mayor, we were adhered to that. So maybe we need somebody there just to direct people where they should have, everyone should stand. And I'm sure that will work then.
Thank you for that. Are you happy that if for any reason Amanda will step in, I just don't want to make this a big issue, because we don't want to rub people up the wrong way. Just see if we can get a nice conversation about the practicalities of it, because at the end of the day, the whole point, I think, when members originally discussed this, they were worried about the children who come to this event and they were not able to get the full value out of it, and where the council sits in it, because our mayor or mayoress, whoever it is a civic, and the civic people were never together, and it got very confusing. So let's not overburden it and make an issue of this, because we're in the public. It's about improving it and assisting. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
And we'll have that meeting. If I can't do it, Kerry's already agreed that he would do that. We'll move on from that then, if that's agreed, and we'll move on to item 21, which is to review the fringe. And firstly, can I thank all those who took part and did anything to do with it. It was a difficult concept, and can I thank Amanda for the hours she put into it, because even though she was not putting physical events on, organising other sorts of events just actually take a long time. as we've learned. So I think we should record our thanks to Amanda in the minutes before she speaks, and then I'll let Amanda give you the update.
Right, I have submitted a report, and there's a recommendation there that we make a donation of £200 to the UK Astronomy Group. They are a local charity, and they don't charge us. And the presentation that Ross put on was very good, in his slideshow. £50 to Mikey Dyson for running the quiz night. He ran that on our behalf, didn't ask for anything. He went ahead and did a lot of advertising on it. And from what I understand, there was 400 people that logged on to take part. And then £100 to the Oxford Fiddle Group. They never charge. They normally take the donations from the drinks on the night. So it would be nice to give them something. Then the second recommendation is if we hold the Fringe Week online again, that we allow more time to organise the events, as we only had a few weeks to put this together, because originally we weren't going to do anything, and then it was decided that we would. The children's colouring competition run by Gilroy Steele went down well. There was lots of entries for that. I don't know who the winner is yet. She hasn't told me. Our children's mural, I submitted on Friday 26 pictures. They're all A4 size, and I've spoken to the lady that's working on it, and she said that there's enough there to put into our 8x4 mural. One thing she has asked me is, do we want the town council logo to go on there? And is there any wording, or are we going to have a plaque created afterwards?
Okay, well, firstly, can we agree the expenditure? Are members happy to agree with the recommendations in the expenditure?
No.
Well, those in favour and those against?
Can we debate this first, please, Councillor Stutchbury?
Well, we can debate it if you want. What's your proposal, Councillor Harvey?
My proposal is that we pay Mikey Dyson more than 50 quid. I think he's worth more than 50 quid, frankly. That's all I'm going to say. I think it should be at least, I don't know, 75 or 100 quid for Mikey Dyson. He had the biggest audience that probably the Fringe, aside from the public events, of course, had that week. And I think he deserves a darn good pat on the back. He's been doing these other quizzes up until that point, just off his own bat and for free. So I think 50 quid, I think we can extend it a bit more. I'd say 100.
I'm happy to second that.
Is that agreed?
Agree.
Happy to second that.
Are we happy with that amendment to agree the budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I can't see you on my. I've only got as many people on it, John. If
Yes, agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I know. I don't catch you every time, John. Right. Okay. Right. So we go back to the other part of it, Amanda, with that excitement, which is the other recommendation that we would, if we do it again, give more time. We agree that?
Yeah,
Agreed.
absolutely. Definitely.
And the third thing, Amanda, can you remind me of it with all that excitement?
The logo.
Oh, the logo for the children's mural. Do we want the logo on it?
Definitely.
With some wording. Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
town council logo. Yeah.
Are we just happy, members happy with just the logo? Because
Yeah.
putting a plaque on it saying lots of different things is
No.
too complicated.
Councillor Stutchbury, I would say that we put our logo and just say produced as part of the 2020 Fringe Week.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
a short
Yeah.
explanation.
Are members
Yeah.
happy with that?
Yeah.
That sounds appropriate. It's just that, you know, my thoughts were that when you come to a form of words, it's usually the best way for everybody who doesn't really like parrot words. But I think that's simple, isn't it? So let's just go with that. Very simple. Are we agreed with that?
Yeah.
Yes,
And
we all did.
Yeah,
Hang
but
on.
Councillor Bloomfield.
I don't like the word produced going on there.
Created.
Yeah. Created.
Yeah,
Created.
Created by the children of the local children or something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it. Councillor Gately. Another form of words.
No, but I just wondered, you know, because obviously this was an exceptional year as far as the fringe is concerned, and whether there should be any, because, you know, in 10 years' time, people might not realise. So,
put the date on it.
well, the date, but in the, I don't know, in
I
the
think we'll all
COVID-19, well, obviously COVID-19 in 2020, isn't it? It's a bit weird, but you know what I'm getting at anyway.
Yeah, I don't think we should overemphasise. None of us will forget COVID-19, will we? It's a positive spin on it. I don't want memorials round to COVID-19. You know, I think what was agreed is okay, and members happy with that.
Yes.
Changing from Terry and John's changing it originally, and the money we've changed, and we're all happy with that, and we move forward.
Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, we've done that, so we've got to move on to now. We've done the review event access. Councillor Strain-Clark, is there anything on access?
Yes, please. If I could just say, you know, one of the few good things that's come out of COVID-19 really is having that island at the bottom of the Morton Road there, because it actually does make it so much easier for slow people to cross the Morton Road there. So let's hope it really does become a permanent thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. Do you think that we should just record on our minutes that we look forward to there being a permanent feature of an island there?
A crossing.
It's in one of the development section 106 up that road, I do believe. So
yeah.
We all
Chair, could we use some of the concrete that we're going to use for the snake up at Lace Hill and cement the bollards?
I think we need to push for a proper crossing.
I mean, I'll have to declare a prejudicial interest if you do, because I'll probably get an all manner of. I understand the sentiment, and I think with the officers that we got it working well. When it was first muted, I was surprised how many people were negative against it. But I've walked across there, and I totally concur with what Christine says, Councillor Strain-Clark, because you can walk to the middle and you can wait, which means you can actually start crossing the road. If you've got to cross the whole road and you're not going very quick, that means you don't bother.
What on earth is that?
I don't know, Geraldine. What are you looking
Sorry.
at? I can't see. Is it interesting? Better than the
huge
which will all be included in it?
Sorry, I just out of my eye caught this huge lorry with flashing lights just pulling up outside.
I thought Paddy had fell off the roof.
Okay, well, thank you for that. You know, it's one of those things, Geraldine, with respect, we had to be there to experience it. And we weren't. I'm really sorry we're not part of it. I think when we've done the meeting, you get out there and sort them out, Geraldine. Ask them what they're doing in your street. Twinning, I think if members move on, 23 twinning. Is there anything to be updated on that from the town clerk? I can't see that they can come, but
oh, hang on, muted. Yeah, the update is that there is no update. So not Twinning Association.
Well, that is it. And we've agreed to do several press releases, which I know Nina would have wrote down throughout the meeting as we went through. So we don't need to do that now. We've already done that. And chairman's items, I haven't got any, just to thank you for your patience, attendance, and hope you all have a safe journey home. And if I missed members, it wasn't on purpose. It's because I've only got 9 of you on the screen. And I did say at the beginning of the meeting, it's technology, but we do what we do. And I think we got to the end, and we made some pretty good suggestions today. And I'm personally looking forward to us doing something for the youngsters in the town. Fitness committees can sing a good song on that. Well, with that, I would thank the officers for their attendance and their work tonight, and thank the councillors for attending. And we'll see you all again at another meeting on Monday.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Amanda. Bye.
Bye.